It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because the statute of limitations is a tricky subject. The Talk Funny podcast from Nagoyaradio.com and Nagoyacomedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Talk Funny. It's the podcast, the show about trying to be funny, about comedy, about writing comedy, and doing all of those things, raising kids, doing a job, writing comedy, doing stand-up, and writing material, new material every month, and doing it all in Japan. That's what the show is about. Hope it is enjoyable to you. Thank you for all your letters and comments. By letter, I mean, who are we kidding? Emails. Your emails, comments, love letters, stalking notices. We love all of that, and thanks so much. We have some cool questions. We will answer some of those. A couple of those today we will answer, and we will get back to, if you ask us a question, we will get back to you. Thanks for contacting us. You can contact us in several ways. AskPortJapan@yahoo.com, ASKPORT. What did he say? Once again, AskPortJapan@yahoo.com, AskPortJapan @yahoo.com. It's an easy way for us to get in contact with you folks. Also, another way is Nagoyacomedy.com, or you can contact us on our Facebook page at Nagoyacomedy. That's no space, that's one word, Nagoyacomedy. Bailey, technically it's two words. I know, but in this case it's one word. Nagoyacomedy Facebook page, you can contact us there. And we hope you enjoy this podcast, Talk Funny. Also, we have dates coming up. We will be announcing those as we book them. We hope to get around to different parts of Japan later. And if you have any questions, of course, you can email us if you want to invite us to a gig or something. Of course, we do take pride here in Nagoyacomedy. We take pride in that our comedians actually get paid. That's not always the case in other cities. In Japan, there's some great comics in other cities. Not sure how things work out in every city, but I do know that we get paid every time. And sometimes when I talked to comics in other cities, they were like, well, how does that work? Well, you show up at a gig and you get the door and you divide that between the comics. That's how we do it. Did get some emails, some questions about some of the spots we were running. We were running some old stuff from my one-man Jew crew days. And there's one thing that I do need to explain is that, we were doing a lot of parodies, and we were basically ridiculing and satiring our management and our jingle guy. Jingle guy was just this union guy who hated radio and he hated foreigners. And he would just sit in the window and scowl at us the whole time, so we just started to make fun of him. Of course, it was an English, at that time it was an English radio program, English language radio program. I also did, talk radio in Japanese, one of the few foreigners to do that here, or one of the first to do that, and one of the few to do it in Nagoya. But that one-man Jew crew, we would basically every morning make fun of memos that management sent us. So there was a Canadian guy named Jamie Davis, who was a very, very funny guy. Jamie, I hope you're listening. We miss you. This was back in the 2000s. And so what happened was Jamie and I would get emails every day after our show saying, Mark, you're a little too sarcastic, you're a little too smooth, or you seem to speak to people who like classic rock a lot, and we want you to expand your audience. So we got one memo that said expand your audience, and Jamie got one too. And so we made a gag out of it. So we said, okay, so this one is for science fiction nerds. And then the next morning we would do a show dedicated to handicapped people. The next show we'd do a show, dedicated to people that only get math. And so that's one of the bits you're going to hear today is about people. We decided to expand the show, expand our reach to people that are concerned about economics. That was one of the memos we got. So we got this one memo, a couple of memos, and we made fun of those memos for like a year and a half. It was great. It was great fodder for material. It was a lot of fun. And at the time, my producer didn't understand canned laughter. You may hear some canned laughter in these bits. And it was just made show sound more fun. And the producer would storm in and go, who are these guests? Where are the guests that are laughing? I hear people laughing. I'm like, yeah, it's a radio trick, which you would know nothing about that what I just said because you don't know anything about radio. That's the producer, right? And we would call them reducers because they were always trying to reduce our comedy, reduce our bits, whatever we were doing. Whatever we were doing, we'd get memos that say, you're doing too much of it. So one time I got a memo that said, you're doing too many songs. You're doing too many, what was it? Yeah, you're doing too many songs in the music hour. I'm sorry? Was it supposed to be one long song? You're doing too many songs in music hour. And sometimes it'd be like you're having too much fun with the weather forecast because we didn't have satellite weather, so we called it flashlight weather, and we didn't have helicopter traffic, so we would do the sound effects and, okay, well, we're up here on the 24th floor, and yeah, it looks, people look like ants. So you just silly stuff like that. So I don't know if that helps explain some of the inside jokes. But we have fun doing that, and Radio I went completely out of business. Another inside joke that we had there is the sales staff, I worked in radio in the States, and you never met the sales staff. If you're a DJ, you worked at the radio station, and the sales people were out on the streets busting their tails. And it was a really hard job, but they made a lot of money because they were valued by the radio station. But here in Japan, what I learned when I was at Radio I, and they went out of business because they didn't make any commercial sales. So it's completely the salespeople's fault and the sales manager's fault. I would come in the morning and do the morning show, and I'd see the sales guys at their computers. So I'd walk up and go, hey, so what do you do? He's like, well, I'm sales. I'm like, well, how do I even know you? Well, shouldn't you be out in the street? And he said, well, if clients want to advertise with us, they know where we are. They can contact me here at my office. I'm like, well, that's kind of arrogant of you. And how did that work out for them? They were only around for 10 years. And so they were just in the office playing solitaire. This is back in the early 2000s. Not a lot of stuff to do on the internet at the time, but basically that's debatable. But what they were doing is playing solitaire on their computers. I'm like, do you at least have the IBM account? Because you're using IBM computers and you're playing the solitaire. Do you at least have an account related to that? No, they didn't. And so all they would do is just go into the smoke room, the sales room, and then smoke. They would smoke in the sales room, so we have a parody about that. So things like that. We had a lot of fun. And hard to believe I lasted 10 years, but that's how long they were around. And we did get hate mail. And, what I learned is there's no such thing as bad publicity, at least for radio, because the people that hated our gags would write in. They'd listen to the whole show, so they didn't miss any offensive thing we did. This is Talk Funny, and I'm Mark Bailey. We hope you enjoy this. This is sponsored by Nagoyaradio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Contact us at Nagoyacomedy.com and our easy-to-use email address, askportjapan@yahoo.com, and also our Facebook page. It's one word. It's called Nagoya Comedy. That's no space, just one word. You can contact us there. This is Talk Funny.
It's Talk Funny, a podcast by Mark Bailey and comics from all over. We ended up in Japan because we know what we did last summer, and so do the cops. The Talk Funny podcast from Nagoyaradio.com and Nagoya Comedy. Here's Mark Bailey.
I was riding the subway. I saw an advertisement for a laser eye surgery. The thing that amazed me is that they said there's like a 150-page manga, 150-page comic book that you can buy that would explain that to you. Basically, it's 3 words, so why would you need 150 pages of comic book to explain that to you? But some people need that. Some people need comic books to explain things to them. And, of course, we can't do comic books here, but we're going to explain the economic problem. The economic problem that, it's in the news, and a lot of people are worried about it. We thought we would explain it here. It's your economic lesson. Right here on Big Time Ice Stream with music, with a song. We'll explain economics with a song. So to explain the problem, it's less moolah, and the Smells Like Panic Swing Band. You heard it here first, Big Time Ice Stream. Since the bubble burst, there's been a lot of yen depreciation. This dilemma cannot be solved by more construction. The major banks here have made big mistakes and bad loans, and they try to hide them like a dog who buries his old bones. And meanwhile, the economy's even worse than Argentina. The GNP getting leaner and leaner. Make a decision now. Here's a true statistic that will shock ya. This country's now in the same debtor category as Slovakia. If you owe $10,000 to a bank, you have a problem. But if you owe $10 million, the bank's your partner, huh? And meanwhile, the economy's even worse than Argentina. Bank interest getting leaner and leaner. Make a decision now.
Okay, so one of the questions that we had also at askportjapan@yahoo.com, who are you guys in Nagoyacomedy? So we basically, our current lineup, we're just a ragtag team of people. I try to coordinate it. I have some other people that help me coordinate things. And we've got some future guests that I will name. So Mike Miller is one of them. He's kind of a social media maven for us. And they're all comics. All these guys I name are comics that do stand-up with us. So Mike Miller, he's Canadian. He'll be on some future shows. And also Steve B. Howard is going to be a guest and co-host for some of our shows. He's an author. All these guys live in the Nagoya area and generally do regular stand-up with us. We try to do it every month, different venues. Once a month is about all you can handle, all that Nagoya can handle, because it's not a giant foreign population and everyone's in a band. You know, I almost think to get into Nagoya and if you're a foreigner, you have to have a guitar, because everyone's in a band or a play, or they're, freelancing, or they're doing, something. And there's just a few of us that do stand up, and that's because we're not that good at drums, whatever. Steve B. Howard's another one. Tim Linane, a big guy in Nagoya Players, and a former or current screenwriter. He's very good at visual editing, and that's his bag. He's good at it. He likes it. He sometimes plays harmonica on stage. He does stand up. We have my good friend Victor. Probably he doesn't want me to say his last name, and he has some other things he's doing around Nagoya, social media-wise. But it gets complicated if I try to promote that, and he's doing fine without me. So, he may be on a show soon here with the podcast, but he does stand up for us sometimes. And we have a guy who's a partial owner of a venue, and he does stand up with us, but he's not really into bragging that he's on stage. He's asked us actually not to talk about him. And we like the place that we play at, that he's a co-owner of. So, we'll just call him Jay. We'll call him Jay, and he does things with us as well. He's also very busy, and so that's basically Nagoya Comedy. And we formed in 2015. We reunited from me doing comedy from the 90s, and then doing comedy on radio for 13 years, 14 years here on radio. And then when our radio station went out of business, I formed Nagoyaradio.com, and we basically took the staff and put them on the internet. It's internet radio. And I've sold a lot of my interest in Nagoyaradio.com, and but they are still helping us and sponsoring the show with production facilities and things like that. We are using the Nagoya Radio office, as a matter of fact, which I still own it, but I do we've pivoted. Nagoya Radio has pivoted to basically an international station, but